Imagine a family gathering where everyone agrees on the core values, the same God, the same holy book, and the same fundamental prayers. But there is a deep, quiet tension about who should have led the family after the grandfather passed away. This is the essence of the division between Sunni and Shia Islam. It is a story that began nearly 1,400 years ago, not with a disagreement over theology, but with a question of leadership. When the Prophet Muhammad died in the year 632, he left behind a massive, growing community, but no clear written instructions on who should take his place. This moment created the most significant fork in the road in Islamic history. The majority of the community, who would become the Sunnis, believed that the new leader should be elected from among those most capable and closest to the Prophet. They chose Abu Bakr, a trusted friend and father-in-law to Muhammad. The term Sunni comes from Ahl al-Sunnah, meaning people of the tradition. Their focus was on following the established practice of the Prophet and the consensus of the community. On the other side was a smaller group who believed that leadership was not a matter for a vote. They argued that Muhammad had already designated his cousin and son-in-law Ali as his successor at a place called Ghadir Hum. They believed the leadership of the Muslim world should remain within the Prophet's bloodline. This group became known as the Shi'at Ali, or the Party of Ali, shortened today to Shia. For a few decades, the tension was managed. Ali eventually became the fourth caliph, or leader. However, his assassination and the subsequent death of his son Hussein at the Battle of Karbala in 680 turned a political disagreement into a spiritual fracture. To Shia Muslims, Hussein's death is a defining act of martyrdom and resistance against tyranny. It is why you see the day of Ashura observed with such intensity in Shia communities. It is a commemoration of that sacrifice. Over the centuries, these two paths developed their own distinct flavors of religious practice. Sunnis make up about 85 to 90% of the world's Muslims today. They emphasize the authority of the Sunnah and the Quran as interpreted by scholars. Their prayer involves standing with hands folded, and they generally do not have a formal, centralized clerical hierarchy. In a Sunni mosque, the imam is often a community leader chosen for his knowledge, but he isn't seen as a divinely inspired figure. Shias, while a minority globally, form the majority in countries like Iran, Iraq, and Azerbaijan. They place a massive emphasis on the imamate. To Shias, the imams, starting with Ali, were not just political leaders but divinely appointed guides who carried a special spiritual light. This led to a more structured religious hierarchy, with high-ranking clerics like ayatollahs providing significant guidance to the faithful. You'll notice small physical differences too, like Shias often praying with their hands at their sides or using a small clay tablet called a mor to touch their forehead to the earth. Despite these differences, it is easy to lose sight of the fact that the circle of Islam includes both. They both look toward Mecca during prayer, they both fast during Ramadan, and they both hold the Quran as the literal word of God. Today, when we hear about Sunni-Shia conflict in the news, it is rarely about these 7th-century theological debates. Instead, it is usually about modern power politics, nations competing for influence in the Middle East using religious identity as a tool to rally support. At its heart, the split is a 1,400-year-old conversation about legacy. One side chose the path of community consensus, the other chose the path of the sacred bloodline. Both have spent over a millennium building rich, complex civilizations on those foundations, sharing a single faith but viewing its history through two very different lenses.